Look, I was there for about 6 hours yesterday. First thing I've got to say, Madison Square Garden was packed. People waited hours to get in. They sat through hour after hour of this rally. They were fervent in their devotion to all things Trump. Trump has created a movement. There is no doubt. I cannot think of another Republican figure of my lifetime who could have come into a Democratic city like New York and put together anything like that.
Jon Karl on ABC News. Good Morning America this morning. He's still shocked even this morning. There was Ronald Reagan, and then of course there's the left is totally culty from Jonestown to Barack Obama. But we all know that, don't we? Of course we do. Wah, 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 wah. Trump returns to hometown with star-studded show is the headline on the front page of the Washington Times today. And above their masthead today is Commanders stun Bears on Hail Mary as time expires. And that's, I was at the football game last night as well, yesterday afternoon. It went over into last night with two of my brothers who were in visiting from Chicago. And, boy, that was quite a game. That was a wacky game. But back to the politics and all that, because we're now 8 days away from Election Day. And as amazing as that Hail Mary pass was at the end of the game as the clock expired, just after the Bears had pulled ahead and had clearly won the game. The Bears had won the game until they hadn't, because that was an extraordinary moment. But never mind that. We've got a lot to get to today, and I want to get to as much of it as I can while we're together here. Remarkable stuff. The big rally in New York, Madison Square Garden. Supporters filled New York's Madison Square Garden. Kerry Pickett and Seth MacLachlan writing the story in the Washington Times. And we have great newspapers in Washington, D.C. It's just that one of them is not the Washington Post. We honestly do. We have the Washington Times, the Washington Examiner, the Washington Free Beacon. We've got great stuff, and there are more outlets based here that are great as well, largely online, of course. But never mind that for the moment. Former President Donald Trump cemented his image as the biggest showman in U.S. politics by bringing his, Make America Great Again roadshow to the world's most iconic arena, taking a detour from critical battleground states. They love that battleground states. It's always this militaristic language, isn't it? Their ground war, their air war, the battleground states. You'd think that they're the party of the Confederate States of America or something, and they're going to fire on Fort Sumter one of these days again. Mr. Trump, joined by a star-studded cast of surrogates, told the thousands who flocked to see him at New York's Madison Square Garden that the election is a stark choice between the status quo's gross incompetence and the dawn of the 4 greatest years in the history of our country. And President Trump, amazing stuff. And it really was an amazing thing. And there were lots of fascinating people there, including, but not limited to, pardon me, Elon Musk. Elon Musk was there. And he's speaking. He was on the Democrats' good side until he wasn't, and then they want to lynch him and his whole family because they are the party of lynching people from trees, too. Make no mistake. Speaker of the House Mike Johnson was there. J.D. Vance was there. Former Democrat Congresswoman from Hawaii, U.S. Army military officer, and now Republican Tulsi Gabbard was there. Lifelong Democrat Robert F. Kennedy Jr. was there, who famously said a while back that his father, Robert F. Kennedy Sr., killed by Sirhan Sirhan, and his uncle, John F. Kennedy, killed by Lee Harvey Oswald, or the deep state, you decide, said that his father and his uncle would find today's Democrat Party unrecognizable. Vivek Ramaswamy was there. Dr. Phil was there. Dr. Mehmet Oz was there. The Democrats want to destroy him because, he's a little too foreign for them, racists that they are. Turkish American Hulk Hogan was there. Jews for Trump were there. And it's kind of funny because the Democrats are calling everybody Nazis. This is one of the things that the communists are doing, is calling everybody Nazis. Kind of goes back to the Adolf Hitler days in the 1930s and 1940s and in Deutschland in Germany, and every liberal will still say, and this happened on my TV show recently on Newsmax with the lib at the table, say, well, Hitler, I'm pointing out there, the Socialist Workers' Party, the Hitlerites, the Nazis. And so, well, the biggest enemy were the communists. Well, sure, you got the communists and the socialists, and they wanted to murder each other because they're the left, and that's what the left does. They murder each other, and they murder everybody. That's just look at the 20th century, in case you don't know anything about it. In case you missed it, all kinds of crazy stuff happened then. And it should be noted that the 19,500-seat arena was sold out to the rafters, to the roof, and there were thousands outside trying to get in. And that matters in New York City and Manhattan, where the Democrats are accusing, it's like the Nazi rally. The Nazi rally is Hillary Clinton in a pantsuit at home in her kitchen, face down in a pool of her own dried vomit, which happens a lot too. And here's a crazy thing. Talking to my friend Carly and going back and forth about this Hitler rhetoric, right? And everybody's a Nazi rhetoric and all this. The people that burned our cities from coast to coast, the people that defund the police and fund the Ayatollahs, the people that have teenagers, college students chanting from the river to the sea, the people that are shooting Jews around the United States of America, which happened over the weekend in Chicago. It's just amazing stuff. The people that have the anti-Israel movements on college campuses are calling people Nazis because, it's the old Soviet playbook, the Russian playbook. Whatever they accuse you of is what they're doing. And since we're here, I should mention this. The Jerusalem Post reporting and the Washington Post not reporting because it's not a newspaper. Chicago Jewish man on way to synagogue shot by attacker shouting Allahu Akbar. All right? The attacker was then shot multiple times by the police and is now being treated in a hospital in critical condition. Remarkable stuff, because this is what the Democrats have done to the United States, and then they call you a Nazi. And if you go to Harvard, they tell you not to wear a yarmulke. If you're a student there, don't wear a Star of David on a chain. Don't wear anything that indicates that you're Jewish, because you'll be in danger, because people that call themselves liberals have become genocidal fascists. It's remarkable. So a Jewish man was shot multiple times in the shoulder as he was walking to synagogue in Chicago on Saturday in broad daylight. And the Jerusalem Post, the Chicago Police Department, announced the Chicago Police announced it on Sunday. The man, 39 years old, was shot by a 23-year-old gunman, which in this neighborhood that's home to a lot of Orthodox Jewish families. The gunman, who has not yet been identified, I think he should be identified, was heard on a Ring camera screaming Allahu Akbar before engaging in a 2.5-minute shootout with the police. That's probably a bad idea. I think that's a bad idea if you want to live, but, a lot of jihadis and Democrats don't. The Chicago Police Department told the Jerusalem Post that the incident is under investigation. I think that is a good idea. They should investigate, because the guy attacked, shooting a Jewish man, identifiably Jewish man, yelling Allahu Akbar, and then the police shot the Allahu Akbar guy. I think the police should. What do you think? Should the police investigate that? Yeah, go ahead. Take a little time. Look into that. Remarkable stuff. This crazy stuff. The police did not directly confirm that the victim was Jewish. However, when asked if the victim was wearing anything that identified him as an Orthodox Jew during a press conference, the deputy police chief, Kevin Bruno, said the victim is from the community. The community. That's very vague and general, because it's a Democrat city, and even if the deputy chief wants to just come out and say it, you're surrounded by these Democrats that will crucify you. They'll lynch you for telling the truth, because the fascist left, they don't like the truth. And there's video from the doorbell cam and all this stuff that you can watch on Al Gore's amazing internet. Peace be upon him. And thanks to the patriarchy, which you're very lucky to have. Remarkable stuff. I am telling you, you crazy Democrat people. It's the deputy police chief, Bruno, stated that it was 9:35 a.m. The man was walking in West Rogers Park when an armed offender approached from behind and fired shots at the victim, striking the victim in the shoulder. Obviously planning on killing him, murdering him. Responding officers responded to the scene. They wouldn't be responding officers if they didn't respond to the scene. Come on. They responded to the scene, and as they arrived on the scene, at about 9:55, the offender reemerged from an alley and fired shots at the police officers and the responding paramedics, shooting at the paramedics too. Was he still yelling Allahu Akbar? Because that's a catchy phrase, don't you think? That you want to be yelling that. And so he came out shooting again, and he shot the ambulance, among other things. Over the next 2.5 minutes, the offender emerged from various locations. Pop-up, woohoo! And he's shooting and shooting to exchange shots with the officers. Video posted on social media. The shooter can be seen shooting toward the Chicago Fire Department ambulance, which then speedily drives away. That seems like a good idea. And then a man walking a dog before engaging in the shootout. The attacker was shot multiple times. He was shot multiple times by the police. It's kind of, it looks like he's not dead. He's still being treated. And that's sad. That makes me sad. I'm going like this to make tears on my face with my fingertips. I'm sad. That makes me very sad. So we've got remarkable stuff going on. Democrats, and then they call you Nazis because, it's the old Russian playbook. Isn't it amazing? All right, now I've digressed enough. Let's get to President Trump yesterday at Madison Square Garden, which is not square at all, is it? It's round. It used to be called Madison Square, that city block. And there used to be a cool building there. Now there's a really ugly building there. But never mind, because it's still Madison Square Garden. President Trump, and we were talking about this in the last hour, early voting. Get out there and vote, dagnabbit, and vote all the way down the ticket. Don't just vote for Trump for president and then walk away. You've got to vote all the way down the ticket and vote for sane people, not crazy people.
Early voting is underway in every swing state, and we are setting all-time records. They're voting, I tell you what. I don't want to talk about it.
I don't want to talk about it.
But we have to keep it going. You got to get out and vote. We just have to get out. And who would have thought this was going to happen? We're leading in every swing state. But it doesn't mean a thing.
But it doesn't mean a thing. That's right. I mean, it's because we've all lost faith and confidence in our systems of government, including our system for electing presidents and senators and members of Congress and governors, because the left has poisoned and corrupted so much by taking over the permanent bureaucracy, also known as the deep state, and corrupting the hell out of it because they're the left. And I was with a friend, and he's a friend yesterday, last night, who is a lifelong Democrat and an unabashed Democrat. He's a smart guy, and I like him, but that's another discussion for another day. And he said he believes that Trump is going to win in a landslide. And I believe that he's not a Trump voter, but he said that he believes Trump is going to win in a landslide. And it better be a landslide, otherwise the Democrats will have to burn down the whole country. President Trump at Madison Square Garden doing big stuff, amazing stuff yesterday. Lots to get to, lots and lots to get to. Could the fate of America's children be tied to our fate? I certainly think that the answer to that is yes. Much like the actual abortionists themselves who end the lives of more than 1 million unborn last year, the left seems determined to end the lives of millions and millions of unborn babies. They don't like little babies. First, they try to target the unborn babies. Then they might come for the rest of us, if history is our guide. Preborn stands as a beacon of hope for the most defenseless people among us, unborn babies. And every day, Preborn's network of of clinics helps to rescue, on average, over 200 unborn babies every day, while surrounding expectant mothers with God's love and offering free ultrasounds. Witness that's the miracle of life when mothers see the ultrasound that they've never seen before. It's crucial as we help the young mothers navigate through this time of moral decline in the United States. Will you please join in Preborn's effort, helping to protect at least, that least capable among us, the most defenseless among us? For just $28, you can sponsor an ultrasound and give a mother a chance to choose life, not only for her baby, but for herself. An ultrasound could double a baby's chance of living a long and happy and prosperous life and making contributions to the world. To donate securely, dial pound 250, and say the keyword baby. That's pound 250 on your magic phone, and the keyword is baby. Or go to preborn.com/plant, preborn.com/PLANTE. That's preborn.com/plant. Yes, sir. Yeah, we've got a lot of freaky stuff going on, Democrat politicos and the news media, and the big event at Madison Square Garden last night coming up. All right, and as the do you feel like the walls are closing in? The walls closing in because Election Day is coming up. 8 days from today, Election Day, and what will the Democrats do? I never even finished my thought talking to my great friend Carly, and said, listen, if you go around calling Trump Hitler, right? He's Hitler. He's a fascist. He's going to destroy the world. Then when he wins, you can't very well just do nothing. How can you do nothing when Hitler wins the presidency of the United States of America? So what do the Democrats, also known as the left, the violent criminal mobs from Antifa to Black Lives Matter, racist anti-Semites that they are, to the list goes on, all the terror groups that the Democrats have. You can't just do nothing when the person they called Hitler wins the presidential election. You have to be a violent lunatic, right? And I also wanted to mention that on Saturday, the U.S. State Department put out a statement. Their spokesmodel, Matthew Miller, on Intersex Awareness Day. Today, Saturday, the United States celebrates Intersex Awareness Day, reaffirming our commitment to promoting, of course, respect for the human rights of intersex persons around the world. And then they put on a musical. They put on a musical with a dance troupe down at the State Department. It was fabulous. Okay. I want to go to a telephone call, and I want to get back to President Trump at the rally at Madison Square Garden yesterday. And it really is an important question. Can the Democrat Party really do nothing if the person they've been calling Hitler is elected president of the United States? If Hitler and the fascist whatever take over the country, doesn't the left have to kill everybody and burn everything to the ground like the left always does? Because that's great. And on CNN this morning, they're told, there's going to be, what about violence because Election Day? And then they ignore their 550 riots where at least a dozen people were murdered and billions in property damage and thousands of police injured. And they completely ignore that, the news media, because that was mostly peaceful, just like the T-shirts and the coffee mugs we have on the Chris Plant store with mostly peaceful. Indeed. But amazing stuff. All right, let's Michael, go back to the telephones before getting back to President Trump, and so much to talk about. What's going on down at the White House? What's going on with the fence at the White House? I want to share that with you as well, because the left is here, and they are not normal people. And that's the Democrat Party. Very abnormal. Abnormal. All right, let's go to, let's go to Doug, calling from Clifton, Virginia. Douglas, you're on the Chris Plant Show.
Hey, Chris, how are you? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir, I can.
All right, I'm driving. Well, first, a little background on that shooting in Chicago. If it was a religious neighborhood in Chicago, Saturday, any religious Jew would be working. And then on top of it, it was late Friday night, Saturday morning, our time, that Israel was striking Iran. So that would be a perfect opportunity for an anti-Semite to attack a Jew.
Very good point. Very good point. And according to the news reports, he was actually en route to the synagogue when he was attacked and shot. So the guy was apparently going to the synagogue, waiting for someone identifiably Jewish to show up so he could shoot him repeatedly, presumably in an effort to murder him, right?
Exactly. Now, I'm 61 years old. I grew up in Queens and Long Island, New York, and anybody from that area grew up knowing Donald Trump. And Trump has never been associated with anti-Semitic views or anything like that. And by the way, I have a Trump yarmulke. But the point is that is unlike other Democratic leaders from New York, like Jesse Jackson, who called New York Hymietown, or Reverend Al Sharpton, who referred to the white Jewish interlopers in Washington Heights, and the diamond merchants in Brooklyn, which both led to violent attacks, fires, and riots.
And at least one murder in the of a Jewish man in the Crown Heights riots.
Yankel Rosenbaum.
That's right. Yeah, brutally murdered. And the Democrats, I apologize, but the Democrats are going around with their hands painted red, holding up their red hands at college protests and stuff, which it sounds like you might know, Doug, has to do with a radical Islamic jihadi lynching of 2 Israeli soldiers who they butchered and slaughtered, and the murderers drenched their hands in blood and came out to the crowd holding their hands up like hands up, don't shoot, drenched in blood. And now the Democrats have college students dunking their hands in red paint and holding them up, saying, that it's a symbol of the lynching, the murder of 2 Israeli soldiers.
Exactly right. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with the phrase, there's talking the talk and walking the walk. Donald Trump walked the walk. Many presidents said they would move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, but it was Trump that did it, despite the people saying he shouldn't do it, including Biden saying he shouldn't move the U.S. Embassy.
Right.
On top of that, it was under the Trump administration that the United States recognized the Golan Heights as part of Israel proper. Could you imagine if Hezbollah occupied the high ground of the Golan Heights above the Sea of Galilee, looking right at Tiberias? Can you imagine what would be happening right now?
Right, that's exactly right, and I've my best girl and I, we've been up to the Golan. It sounds like you've been up to the Golan Heights too, looking down into Syria. And when we pulled up to the Golan and we got out, and there's a burned out tank there from enemy tank from a previous war, and looking down into Syria, and boom, mortar rounds were landing just as down the hill in Syria, just as we arrived there. And, yeah, give them the high ground. Joe Biden, of course, famously advised Barack Obama to not go into Abbottabad in Afghanistan and get Osama bin Laden and the SEAL Team 6 raid there as well. It's almost like Joe Biden's not on our side or Israel's side.
Not only that, I remember when Biden-Harris administration came in, they immediately were releasing money that the Iran can get. And it wasn't well publicized in the United States press, but terrorist attacks within Israel against Israeli civilians started within January, February, March of the Biden-Harris administration. This was well before the October 7th attack.
I am telling you.
So the point is, who's talking to be friendly and for peace? Maybe Biden-Harris. Who actually is doing it? Trump. Don't forget, he was responsible for the Abrahamic Accords, which led to peace between Israel and 2 of its neighbors, and would have led to peace between Israel and Saudi Arabia if it had not been for the Biden-Harris administration.
If it had not been for the Biden-Harris administration. I mean, honestly, I'm an Irish Catholic Zionist, and I always have been. All my life I've been an Irish Catholic Zionist. I believe that Israel, all that means is believe that Israel has a right to exist. and I support the right of Israel, the state of Israel, to exist. It's the only that they love the word diversity. The left does. It's the only nation of people and the only country in that region that allows anything resembling what the Democrats call diversity. It's the only country in the region that doesn't hang people for allegedly being gay or throw them off of rooftops and all that good stuff.
It's the only country in the region where Christians are safe and growing in numbers. Every other Islamic country, Christians are under attack and shrinking in numbers.
And what is it with the Democrat Party?
They're on the wrong side.
I didn't mean to stump you.
They are chummy with evil.
Say that again?
They are getting chummy with the evil side.
Yeah. Yeah, they are. I mean, it's, in the ongoing human struggle between good and evil, which has been ongoing forever. It's look, they're the left. I don't know how to make it any more clear, but maybe I should try. They're not liberals. They're the left. The founding fathers of the United States were liberals, even though slavery existed in their time. But they were liberals. They were Western liberals, Enlightenment liberals, and they laid the groundwork for liberalism to prosper in Western civilization. And the left kills and butchers and steals and destroys everything. And the left is here. We just call them the Democratic Party.
Listen, many of our Democratic neighbors are nice people trying to do the right thing. But as I believe it was Lenin, they're being useful idiots for bad players.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, it's pretty amazing. Well,
Chris, thank you for all you do. I really appreciate it.
Well, thanks. I find it easy. It's just being on the side of civilization, and I think we should all be on the side of civilization. I really do. And I think we should have been raised to be on the side of civilization, to recognize the difference between civilization, the forces of civilization, versus the forces of anti-civilization. And honestly, in the Middle East region, and I've been to Israel and Egypt and Saudi Arabia and, blah, 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 and Morocco and this and that. And there's, there are things to like about the region, and there are things to like about the culture. But, ... there's a lot, that we ought to be saying out loud. We ought to be saying it out loud. And I don't see our leaders doing that these days. And I mentioned, thank you, Doug. Thank you for the call, and thank you for being a serious and intelligent person. I should point out that at the White House, even as we speak, the Democrats are placing thousands of very pointy steel spikes to the fence line, to the top of the fence line. Now, it looks like there are pointy things on top of the fence surrounding the White House, but they're not things that you could stab someone with or impale someone with. You could hop up on top of those spikes. They're not sharpened or anything like that. They're pointy fence post things. But they are currently installing thousands and thousands of very sharp steel spikes onto the fence line all around the White House. Now, why would they be doing that? I don't understand. Were you able to pull the CNN stuff from 8:59 a.m. this morning? Because the CNN people, John Berman, and what's the guy? Chris Harvey. That's no relation to Paul Harvey, I think. But they were this morning talking about, there's an election coming 8 days from today. And they're not afraid of their own violence, which is 99% of the political violence ever in this country, including in the last few years where they've had literally hundreds and hundreds of riots, billions in property damage, at least a dozen murdered and thousands injured. Just in the police ranks, thousands injured. But on CNN this morning in the 8 a.m. hour.
You can create such a tense atmosphere at some of these polling places that the slightest spark may spark some type of violent reaction. And that's what we've spent, a year and a half trying to prepare for. He's
with the No Violence on Election Day committee or something ridiculous like that. I think he's a Harvard guy, isn't he? A Harvard guy. I think isn't everybody really? Maybe Harvard grads should not be allowed to appear on television ever again. What do you think? Yeah, probably not. Yeah, but so they're on CNN. Something at a polling place could spark violence, and he's working real hard to make sure that doesn't happen. Going on CNN to talk about this violence on Election Day stuff, just amazing. So they're very concerned. A spark. There could be a spark, and maybe that's why they're putting all these spikes, these pointy spikes, on the fences around the White House compound. Sounds like a heck of an idea, which they've done before, by the way. They did put Secret Service preps add spikes to White House fence in 2015 because, they just like to add spikes to things. The Democrats do. Amazing stuff. They did it in 2015. I think they did it in 2017 also. But now apparently they're doing it again because they need more spikes. Anybody tries to climb over there is spikes. Man, oh man. All right, let's get back to President Trump because President Trump was in Madison Square Garden last night with the biggest crowd that the world has ever seen. And it wasn't the biggest crowd the world has ever seen, but it was Madison Square Garden packed to the rafters, 19,500 seats there when you take over the floor, So if it's a basketball game, hockey game, fewer seats. Concert, probably fewer seats. But this event, big and thousands more outside.
Next Tuesday, you have to stand up and you have to tell Kamala Harris that you've done a terrible job.
It's Kamala.
That crooked Joe Biden has done a terrible job. You've destroyed our country. We're not going to take it anymore. Kamala, you're fired. Get out. Get out. You're fired.
You're fired. It's the old "you're fired" thing, which is a fun President Trump catchphrase because he had a TV show back when all the Democrats loved him, and they loved him at NBC. And they've been trying to find a way to, how shall I put it, do away with him ever since. He's been shot once. Another man with a rifle arrested outside his golf course in West Palm Beach, Florida. Another would-be assassin in jail in New York sent to the United States by Iran, a Pakistani man. The news media drops these things like they're not news stories. Another guy in Idaho arrested plotting to assassinate President Trump. What's the big, It's just what they do. It's just who they are. Isn't that amazing? You know that the best-selling Eden Pure Thunderstorm air purifier uses Oxy technology that helps to quickly destroy a whole lot of different viruses and odors and mold spores and more floating around in the air in your home or your office. Thousands of 5-star reviews on Al Gore's amazing internet. Works like a champ. We've got 2 of them at home ourselves. Any stinky smell will vanish after just a few seconds with the thunderstorm being on. Odors from litter boxes and trash cans, cigarette smoke, dirty diapers, left-wing protesters, no match for the Eden Pure Thunderstorm. The powerful thunderstorm sends out these O3 molecules that seek out and help destroy odors. Molecules even go behind and underneath furniture. Nothing can hide from the thunderstorm, and you don't have to buy those filters over and over again. Go to the store, go online to buy filters. No, sir. You hold an Eden Pure Thunderstorm in your hand. They're only this big. Take a look. Start enjoying fresh air at home or your office again. Get several thunderstorms because right now you can save $200 American dollars on an Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack for whole home protection. You're going to get 3 units for under $200. Put one in your basement, your bedroom, your family room, your kitchen, your teenager's room, any place you like to breathe clean, fresh air. All you have to do is go to EdenPureDeals.com and use the discount code CHRIS3, CHRIS and the number 3, and you're going to save $200. That's EdenPureDeals.com. The discount code is CHRIS3. Yes, sir. Yeah, what is it with the left and violence? Well, no, take a look at the 20th century. That's where you'll find the explainer. Honestly, the Democrats, what do they do if the person they've identified as Hitler becomes the president of the United States? They can't just go to Starbucks, can they? Not without a can of gas and a Zippo lighter, like they so often do. All right, let's go to the phones. Let's go to Alan, calling from Chicago, Illinois, listening on the great WLS. Alan, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, Chris. The use of Hitler, of Nazism toward Trump is disgraceful. My cousin entered a concentration camp at the end of the war. He spoke Yiddish. And he told us as he was dying of pancreatic cancer that he could never forget the sights or the smells of what he experienced on that day. Nobody could describe it, he said. It was painful for the next 60 years until he died. And to use Nazism, to use Hitler, attach it to anybody, is an absolute disgrace, but it demonstrates who the Democrats are. They're loathsome.
Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. And every American GI that went into the camps thought about it every day for the rest of their lives. And remembering you mentioned the smell, and that's a gruesome reality to be sure, with the body pits and the gas chambers and everything else. And when you said that, it reminded me that I was at not the same as the death camps that the Nazis put together, but at the Pentagon on September 11th, and was working at the Pentagon then, which I did for about 10 years as a news guy, and my office was in the Pentagon. And after the September 11th attacks, and that hundreds, 100 plus killed aboard the plane and in the Pentagon, the place burned for days afterward, and my office was down the hall. And again, we went to work the next day, and the smell of the charred flesh and the burning bodies was everywhere and permeated the hallways of the Pentagon for weeks. And honestly, the smell stayed with me for months and months and months. Even a year later, I might just sniff and at a restaurant in Chicago, and the stench would come back. That's a stench that stays with you. That type of stench is a stench that stays with you for a long time. And I can only imagine the death camps that the socialist workers left for us to liberate.